Hello, everybody. Welcome to Pharmaceutical Soccer. I am so excited to be here with you after another two-match week in May. Luckily, it's going extremely well with these two-week matches, so it's fun for us to be able to talk about. And there is a lot to talk about for sure. Of course, I'm here with Clay Trainum. Vlair Shabila, unfortunately, is not here with. He was available during the weekend, though, to do his instant reaction, which was nice.
Yeah, I thought that was nice, especially considering he's been in Bilbao since last Tuesday,
Yeah,
which I thought was interesting because he's in Spain. A
yeah.
lot of people know that he's in Spain, but they don't realize that he was in Bilbao because he wanted to watch Tottenham win a trophy in person.
I know, it is crazy. Like he's recording like nice videos involving me. That was very nice, and he's in Bilbao to watch Tottenham, his favorite team. I mean, like, is Valera changed, man, at the current moment?
I mean, we'll see. We'll see. European trips can often change people.
That's
So,
that's
so
true.
we'll see. Unfortunately, I'll never know because Everton hasn't played in Europe in quite a while.
But
So,
it was, of course, a busy weekend. If you had the ability to have Monday off, congratulations to you. I hope it was a good one. Clay, did you have a good weekend? A good Monday? How was your long weekend?
yeah, I had a pretty good weekend, and I definitely had Monday off because I'm a state employee. That's where that comes in handy. But yeah, it was a pretty good weekend. We had, we had a lot of stuff going on yesterday. I got the smoker going for a while, which was, I hadn't done that yet this season. So did some smoked chicken, kept it pretty simple, and of course, watched Everton as one does, watched NSC away, and I went and toured a like an old music studio where they recorded a bunch of country music,
Yeah.
and I went to a Nigerian wedding, so that was fun too. So
Ah,
I had a very full, very 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 full weekend. I can't complain too much. Oh, and there is this. I accidentally broke news.
you did. You did accidentally break news, which was a lot of
Yet
fun.
another case.
I,
Yet another case of Pharma Soccer accidentally breaking news before everyone else. So there is a potential new Nashville SC third kit out there that was on display at the Antioch Adidas, only in kid sizes, but it's since been confirmed by multiple people that this is probably the NSC third kit. So you can check me out on Twitter at ClayLaSoul if you want to see what it looks like.
I,
It's a two-tone blue, which as a Titans fan I appreciate. I'm actually wearing some little two-tone blue right now, and has an Opryland font, has a retro MLS logo that MLS hasn't used in a while, and the team didn't exist when this logo was used, so it's just kind of an odd choice. But yeah, so
I am
that's interesting.
hoping just because it is like the kids version, it's a little bit like just because normally kids versions of clothes are a little bit different than of course the actual adult replica or authentics. I like the idea of it. I just hope it is better in an adult kit. I still appreciate the news being broke.
I I uh, I think that it's one of those things where it looks better in person than it does.
Gotcha.
There are some interesting touches. Obviously, they use the broken out in instead of using the octagon around it, which people have wanted. And I thought having the six strings touched to the Opryland font was kind of a fun little homage
Absolutely.
to maybe logos past. And I am curious what the other like add-ons for the authentics will be because obviously we've seen a lot of differences. But it's just I don't know. It's just fun to see something different that isn't like the Earth Day kit
Oh yeah.
or
Absolutely.
whatever. Like it's just fun to see NSC in different colors, which is something that we always say we want. Like but MLS doesn't largely do. Like I always think about Portland in their maybe like first or second year because of the Rose City, they did all red Timbers kits, which was like kind of a fun thing, and that's a
Right.
thing that's like we see teams do overseas, but MLS is largely strayed away from. So it's a fun idea.
I saw a Reddit post where they were talking about the kit specifically, and they were like somebody was just like, "Oh no, Adidas hates Nashville. That's why we never get a good kit." And the comment below was, "It's not that Adidas hates Nashville. It's just Adidas doesn't even think Nashville exists." Like they just don't even think about the best way to go about it, which I feel like I'm curious again with the shorts, see how it goes. Like, do they
If
go
it's like
white?
the denim short like thing, that's
Yeah,
fun.
I know.
Like the
That's what I'm
jorts
saying. Like,
kit.
there's so
Are
many
you
different
kidding
ways that
me?
this could go. But the important thing is that Pharma Soccer accidentally breaking news again. This time because Clay was walking around the Tanger outlets in the Adidas store and found
And I
specific.
didn't even find what I was looking for. I didn't find any shoes that fit. It's very hard to wear size 15 or size 16 shoes and try and find shoes that fit. I was there to look for shoes for when I'm in Switzerland, watching the United States play Switzerland in Nashville while I'm in Switzerland.
Yeah.
So I went to go find shoes, and while I was sitting there annoyed that I didn't have shoes that fit me there, I just look up on the wall and I was like, I've never seen that one before. And then I saw someone wearing an NSC, like a old NSC logo shirt, like a USL shirt. And I was like, have you seen this before? And he said no. And then he immediately tried it on because he was like, I wonder if this kid size will fit me. And it did not. But he was very excited about it. And then I was like, this might be something. I got to see if anybody else has seen this.
Well, I had a great weekend as well. I was in Minnesota actually for a wedding, which was a lot of fun. And then, of course, I got to watch my Chelsea Football Club, not Manchester United, my Chelsea Football Club, make it into a Champions League spot, which was very nice. I was very worried about that, but a good win at the
Man
end.
United extremely did not make it to Champions
They
League.
absolutely extremely did not make it. Almost
And
not.
they're in some PSR trouble now.
Absolutely. I mean, not as bad as Valera's Tottenham for sure, but like it's still. I will say one thing I did over the weekend besides going to this wedding. Sunday, I went to a St. Paul Saints, which is minor league baseball team in Minnesota affiliate. Let me tell you, I watched the last week tonight of him talking about minor league baseball, like teams and games and all that. It is absolutely wild the things that exist at minor league baseball. St. Paul specifically, the St. Paul Saints, even though the name, the St. Paul Saints, is boring, they specifically have two things that made me just go. One, they absolutely have a ball pig. They literally have a pig that is a ball pig. Is he trained to get balls? No. Just because if you are not watching the video medium, Clay is currently showing his Muncie Fruit Jars baseball shirt, which is actually kind of amazing. But they had a ball pig, and there was a statue of a guy feeding a pig a hot dog in the stadium. And I also didn't know the team was co-owned by Bill Murray. Like it is, like it was just a lovely, lovely, fantastic experience. If you have the ability to go to a minor league baseball game, please do it.
Yeah.
Uh,
So in my baseball covering days, one of the best things was when we had a kid drafted, and I got to see what team he played for. And occasionally that team would have multiple team names over the course of the season. So shout out to the Binghamton Rumble Ponies / Stud Muffins. Shout out to. Oh, I was watching. Okay, this is marginally related, but it is funny. There's a team in Illinois called the Thrillbillies, which is obviously a play on hillbillies,
okay.
because the OVC baseball tournament took place at their park. Steven, the name of their ballpark for the hillbilly baseball team is Mountain Dew Park.
Oh my god.
So anyway, moving on.
Is it
2
mild?
wins.
Is it mild? Never mind. Look, we got to talk about National SC because we're in something pretty special right now when it comes to National SC. This past week was a wild week when it comes to emotions of looking at lineups in comparison to performances on the field. Currently, Nashville, I believe, is 8 unbeaten at the current moment. Currently sitting in third place right now in the Eastern Conference. I think this is one of the best starts in National SC history, if not the best start in rankings.
I mean, it is the best start in NSC history, but it's not just that it's 8 unbeaten. It's like 7 of those are wins.
Yeah.
6 or 7 of those are wins, and that's something that's never happened. Like that doesn't, because normally like the longest unbeaten run in like team history is like 11, and that's a lot of draws that are part of that. This is a run that they're on that where they're finding ways to get wins, even in games where they probably shouldn't. And that's we talk about it all the time. Like the difference between a good team and a great team is a great team wins games that they probably shouldn't, or games that they weren't at their best.
Right.
And a good team wins the games they're supposed to win. And so what we're seeing from Nashville is that even in games where they're either outmatched or they haven't played well, they're finding a way to not just get a point out of it, but they're finding ways to get 3 points out of it. And, at some point that type of run is going to end because you do need to play better overall. But it is good that you can keep pace with the top part, not just the top parts of the conference, the top parts of the league at this point in the season. And it's going to get like we are in the tough part of the year where there is like 2 games a week,
Yep.
For a whole month. Like that's going to calm down, but then there'll be another, tight stretch at some point later. So getting through those runs and getting wins on the road, especially like wins on the road are we talk about it all the time on here, are very difficult, like historically difficult in MLS, even compared to other leagues. And Nashville went on the road twice last week and won twice.
Yeah, and it's crazy. Like, so I think my question for you with this kind of run that we are in, especially in the place that we're in, Nashville still has the opportunity for 2 trophies that we're still in contention for, that we did not, but like, does it change your expectations for the rest of the season on where we are at the current moment? Like when we first kind of talked about it, look, low-ish playoff team, kind of getting in there. We are a good team, but it's still some stuff to figure out. It seems like we have figured out, a lot of the way the team is going to play, the way they are going to operate. Does it change your expectations on where this team ends up at the end of the season?
I don't think so. I think I was pretty bullish on Nashville SC specifically, thinking that they'd be competing for a home playoff game, which is what they currently are on the basis of where they are in the standings. I think we all thought they'd be a playoff team. Valaire kind of figured in the 6-7 range. I was a little more bullish, I think, in my predictions for the season, but I do think that there will be a setback at some point. There will be some sort of regression to the mean. You can't, like, Nashville's defensive numbers are really, really good, even without Walker Zimmerman. And like Nashville's always been a good defensive team, but that doesn't quite make a lot of sense. And so you have to think that maybe they're overperforming their underlying numbers a little bit. So we'll see. But I do think that getting through this stretch in the way that they have definitely lifts the ceiling or lifts the floor and the ceiling at that point.
Right.
Quite a bit more from what we were expecting even 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I think it'll be very interesting, and obviously we'll talk about the matches coming up. I think it'll be because we're not technically out of this stretch yet, right? Like, we still have another midweek bout away as well before we come back home for another. I mean, having another 2-week match right now is absolutely, like, this May is insane. But, I think at the current moment, it's one of those things where I'm teetering, where, like, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. Like, I'm waiting for the couple matches where we do kind of get into a skid, more or less, to see, what we come about with next. I mean, so for example, for me, Cincinnati just got smoked by Atlanta on Sunday. Had sort of a Walker Zimmerman injury kind of happen during the match as well. But, like, it's one of those things, is this something where Cincinnati's actually just going to not be a good team anymore? Or is this just a one-off type of thing, right? That's what I'm trying to figure out from a Nashville perspective. When the other shoe does drop, what kind of happens there? I'm getting a little bit more to the optimistic side about where we can end up in this battle. The East is very tough, I think, in comparison to the West still. But, man, Nashville looks good. We look good.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think one of the interesting things is, barring one result, there's a caveat with even the losses and the draws that Nashville does have this year. Like, Seattle is the one that absolutely makes the most sense, or makes the least sense rather,
Right.
because it got the tactics wrong, had a good 20 minutes, and then were just terrible
Right.
for the most part after that. But you look at Charlotte, the way that game played out at Charlotte, a demoralizing injury takes place and then gives up 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. Like, does that play out the same way? Cincinnati, of course, was decided on a penalty in added time. Does that play out the same way? That being said, there are some results going Nashville's way where they've gotten a win where maybe they didn't feel totally deserved. But I do find it interesting that you can really only point to one game where you're just like, that was just out and out bad all around. Like, there's nothing redeeming about it, and that was the Seattle game. And they bounced back from that Seattle game by going on a big unbeaten run.
Right.
So it is.
Learn the lesson, Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know because, like, I'm like, oh, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. It kind of did already with the Seattle match, right? Like, and it's already happened in some way. We haven't gone through a very big, like, away trip spout yet, like we're going to be doing in June. I think that'll be very interesting.
Well, they're on one right now. I mean, they had 2 away games last week. They're going away to Columbus on Wednesday. So, like,
that's fair.
That's a pretty difficult run. I mean, not that Toronto's particularly difficult, but you are crossing the border. It's a long trip. It's not like it's like the easiest game you could have. But, like, at Columbus on a midweek on short rest is a big ask.
Very big ask. But that Toronto match, we will talk about that first coming in after the break. We will talk about the Open Cup match as well and kind of what it looks like for Nashville, as well as some other MLS news and maybe a couple reviews as well from our listeners. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. And we are back right here at Pharma Soccer on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Of course, you could check us out at 615soccer.com. Spell that all out. A lot of good articles and a lot of cool stuff coming through there, especially when we have so many matches in May specifically. A lot of articles, a lot of stuff to follow up on. While I was at the wedding on Saturday, it was really good to kind of follow along to the Discord. So please make sure you are checking out 615soccer.com. It really is a good time, a really good soccer community kind of going on all around, and we really appreciate it. It's where Clay initially leaked the jersey as well. That was even before internal chats. He put that on the Discord specifically, being like, what is going on? So please make sure you check that out. Also, if you're looking for Pharma Soccer merch, please make sure you pick that up at pharmasoccer.com. A lot of cool stuff going on there. So please make sure you do that. All right. So instead of just setting up Clay and Valaire like I did last week and then getting yelled at for it, we're going to talk about the Toronto match first, just because it is the one that is in the forefront of our minds. Plus, I think the Orlando City match has a little bit more to talk about when it comes to kind of performances. It was different. It's been fun. Sorry. So I'll start off just saying Toronto 2-1 win against Toronto FC. Sam Surridge getting 2 goals, scoring that brace, I think, in a fantastic fashion. Doing this match was a normal Nashville SC fashion match for this year, which it's fun for me to say when it comes to. Because what was it? A typical NSC match under Gary Smith. It was it's an away draw in Toronto. Yeah, 0-0 draw, typical Gary Smith match, kind of holding back, hoping for one goal to come through. That's not what the new normal is now. The new normal is probably should have had more goals than you actually did. Kind of looked like the better team. A little bit later, it started to get tough, and you want to see some of that cleaned up. But still got away with some sort of result. That's exactly what happened here. Besides maybe a little bit slower of a start, but I do think we got to start off with Sam Surridge getting another multi-goal game.
Yeah. So, we'll get to the slow starts in a second. But, I mean, Sam Surridge, what more can you say? He seems to score in bunches. I kind of wish he would just score 1 goal every game instead of 2 goals.
It's so frustrating.
But it is also a good reminder that he can be clinical. And, I mean, we have to talk about the first goal. The first goal was, like, kind of exactly the type of thing that BJ Callahan is looking for.
Yep.
Which is fastball movement, one-touch pat. Like, Nahar goes over the top to Mukhtar. Mukhtar, one touch, crosses it right in, and Surridge scores.
Right.
I mean, it happened quickly, it happened smoothly. You had essentially two of your best guys with, standing over a ball essentially, and Nahar and Mukhtar playing pitch perfect passes to your center forward who scores a goal. And I mean, just great in every way. And I would like to see more of that. I know that that's not totally the way that Nashville's played this year, because the way that Nashville's played this year has been with the ball, and they've gotten a lot. But I think that there's also something to be said for the bread and butter of what Nashville was previously, which is turning it over quickly and like causing a turnover, pushing it back quickly, getting up the field and scoring, because there will be goals from that as well. And I think that that's really the thing that really drives home how much different that this Nashville team is, which is they can score goals in lots of different ways.
Right.
And they can play in a lot of different ways and be successful playing in a lot of different ways. And that was just perfect. Just in every way, that was perfect. And so, can't really say enough about, I think there's a lot of questions that Serge had to answer coming into this season. I don't think it was necessarily fair, because Serge scored 12 goals last year. Like, it was a bad team, but he was like one of the main highlights of a bad team last year.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be surprising that he's coming in and is, I think he's up to double-digit goal contributions. He's pretty close to it at this point. So if he's not, I haven't looked at the stats this morning, but I know he's getting there. So it is something worth kind of reminding yourself sometimes. Like, it would be helpful if he would get a goal here and a goal there instead of a hat trick here and a brace there. But who's going to turn down a guy who scores multiple goals in games? I mean, you're on the road, a guy scores 2 goals, that'll win you a game a lot of the time.
And to me, when it comes to Sam Surridge, like, I think the questions that I had last year are still the same that I have this year. When it comes to consistency, when it comes to, I would like to see the goals happen, once every, goal. But I think it might be who Sam Surridge is. But it's not a bad thing as well, because of the fact that, you have more people on this team able to contribute to goals and assists, and to make Sam Surridge even just a better player. So maybe this kind of, hey, we just need a game where you do kind of show up and be the goal scorer, cool, but he doesn't necessarily need to do that every game. I think we're starting to see that with this BJ Callahan kind of style and squad, that there isn't going to be one focal point every single match. Some days it might be Hani. Some days it might be Andy Nahar. Some days it might be Sam Surridge. And against Toronto, it was absolutely that. Heck, I think Sam probably should have had 2 more against Toronto in some different ways. I mean, it is interesting to see, like, what's going to happen with Sam Surridge even through the later parts of the season.
Yeah, I mean, the thing for me is, like you said, there needs to be variance in this offense, and Sam's representative of that. The one thing that I would take from the Toronto game that I would be worried about is the fact that it was another slow start for Nashville SC. And that's something that we've seen far too often. Now, you mentioned it in the first part of this segment, like Gary Smith, if you don't get something early, you settle and play for a draw. And we saw that a lot. Nashville would look really good for the first 15, 20 minutes. If they scored a goal, great. And if they didn't score a goal, cool, scoreless draw. Maybe we'll find something on a set piece.
Right.
Is their approach. And I will say that I feel really comfortable if the game is in a winnable state going to the half with this group, because they have largely come out of the second half and played well in most games this year. And they've found goals and they've found ways to score and things like that. And so I don't know that can continue for too long. I think you need to find ways to score goals early, and they have done that at times this year. Obviously, they scored 5 goals in the first half against Chicago, and Chicago was terrible that day. So, take of that what you will. But, like, when you're playing a tough road game, if you give up something early, which happened in the Orlando game, if you give up something early, you might be setting yourself up for a long day if you have another mistake in the half. And now you've got what could be an insurmountable lead. to fight back from. And so I would just like to see if you're going to be on the front foot early in these games, which Nashville SC largely is. They need to be a little bit more clinical with their chances. But I mean, this is nitpicking stuff. Like,
Yeah. And that's exactly it. It's like things you like. Do I want to win every single match 4-0, 4-1, 5? Yes, absolutely. Has Nashville had most of those opportunities in these matches to go up 4 goals, 5 goals? Yes, they have. But we're still getting the results. We're still getting the like. I think it was really funny. I decided to see the Facebook group afterwards. I don't know why I decided to do that. We're like, wow, Nashville should have won that one way more calmly and collectively than they did. How dare they? If that's what we're talking about at the current moment, that's hilarious. Like, they should be winning an away match in Toronto after 4 matches in 2 weeks more. Like, that is that is something that we should absolutely be talking about. So I am a little worried. I know you're talking about the slow starts. I am worried about the lapses a little bit. There was a time around like the 70th minute where Toronto did kind of come up to its own, where you're only up 1 goal specifically. Where I've seen that a couple times this season, where it has started to worry for me. But I think we'll see what happens. I mean, this is a tough time. This is a tough part of the season, especially with this many matches throughout the season. And
well, and just to add on to what you're saying there, like it, these aren't all bad teams.
no,
Like there's mandated parity in MLS in the way that you can spend. So like Nashville's roster is only going to cost, marginally more than or less than most of the teams they play, and these other teams do have good players too.
right.
Like, so
Well, and Toronto's been one of those teams that has been so troubling for Nashville in the past. I mean, Insigne has scored how many goals against us? Like, just ran. I mean, it's one of those teams, especially going away, that you have no idea like how it actually is going to go.
Toronto is also on the game for one of the more fun trivia answers in the history of Nashville SC, which was what player scored on his debut against Toronto and then never played another game for Nashville again.
Oh, hold on. Let me think about this. No, I don't know. I would need more time to think about it. That we'll have showtime for. Who is it?
Well, he was a defender.
Okay.
He scored on a header
Oh,
in his NSC debut.
was it Castellanos?
Yes.
Yay!
He played one total game with NSC, which was against Toronto, and he scored on a header. Nashville lost. But Jacob Schaffelberg, I think, also scored. Was it his first career goal he scored against Nashville?
Yep.
Playing for Toronto?
Yep.
Something like that.
Well,
Another loss for NSC.
Speaking of good teams, one of those teams was in the Open Cup against Orlando City, where we did play one of those really good teams in the East, and we were going away to play them. Now, we did get some information afterwards from this match. You could choose to believe what you want to believe or not. I'm still kind of, I honestly, I don't care anymore. Like, I do get it. It could have gone the other way. I have brought this quote up multiple times. There's a quote in the Mighty Ducks where I was a quarter of an inch away, but if you would have hit the puck a quarter of the inch the other way, you would have missed the goal completely. Like, I never thought about it that way, where we could have lost this game, but we didn't. But we do have to talk about the lineup a little bit, because Nashville SC has talked about playing the Open Cup with purpose. Like, it is meaningful. It is the one thing that you're going through. And then we don't see Hani Mukhtar or Sam Surridge or a lot of people even on the bench. It is just the fact that this lineup, Wyatt Meyer at left back, a player we have not seen play left back whatsoever. Like,
player that hasn't played since the first 2 weeks of the season.
Right. Like, it was wild to see the reaction to this lineup. And it wasn't necessarily the lineup itself. I think, like, as a normal, like, as an Open Cup lineup, like, you would be like, okay, it's the Open Cup. But this was a less promising lineup than what we used against the Chattanooga Red Wolves in a competition that we're gunning for. At least that's saying that we were gunning for. Like, how angry were you? Like, I was
I,
furious.
I was infuriated. I was infuriated because, like, for me, it's less about the lineup than it is about the hubris.
Right.
So it's like, don't don't spend 6 to 8 weeks telling everyone that you are going to take this seriously and then not. And we'll get to what their reasoning was behind it in just a moment. But imagine if that was a home game and you just told everyone that you were going to take it seriously, and then you do that announcement and Hani Mukhtar isn't on the bench. Like, imagine if that was a home game. Like, it's insane. Insane.
Yeah.
The thing is typically, there's an avenue to let people know that, hey, there are knocks in the squad or whatever they may be, whatever type of terminology they're calling it. You could just tell people that. Like, how many times do we see in England, 15 minutes before the lineup comes out, there have been some injuries, to set people up to let them know, okay. But to just drop that lineup on people after telling everyone that would listen that you're taking the tournament seriously was infuriating. Coming out of it afterwards, we got some information, from BJ Callahan saying that there were some knocks in the squad and there were some injuries. I don't know if I fully buy that just a bunch of players just got hurt in 3 days and then they were healthy again at the weekend to start. That doesn't totally make sense to me. I can
But
imagine
it,
that there
it
might
does
have
make
been.
it does make sense for me though to like pick up like change the way you are going to look at a tournament based on the lineup that you do have. Like if a couple players did pick up knocks and that's going to affect the way the like MLS standings are, like in some ways I do get it. You know what I mean?
Well, no, so this is what I'm getting to. So, like, you rested the whole team against DC.
Right.
Or not the whole team. You rested a lot of players against DC. And then a few days later, you play the Open Cup game. You say that you have a whole bunch of knocks in the squad. And then you end up resting several starters. Like, not just one or two, like 6 or 7.
Right.
And some of which weren't even in the squad. And then 3 days later, they're healthy and in Toronto playing. And I can understand the idea that maybe one or two people picked up an injury and maybe you were worried about going into an Open Cup game and then ending up with 3 or 4 people injured. But I do also think it's a little odd that people were healthy the game before and people were healthy the game after. And saying you're taking it seriously, and the game before is DC, and the game after is Toronto, and the game that you're supposed to be taking seriously is an Orlando team that just beat Miami, who only rotated one or two people out of their squad. And so, like, they got a win from it, and I'm happy that they got a win for it because we both would like to see Nashville SC win a trophy.
Right.
We both would like to go to the final. Like I'm very happy that they won. I'm very happy they got a win from it, but I just would have liked a little bit more transparency on what they were going for, because that's a golden opportunity that was presented to get revenge, I might add, on a team that kept Nashville from winning, around this stage a few years ago.
Oh, trust
And
me, they
that
did
Orlando
not let
team,
you forget that point in the broadcast at all. That, by the way,
yeah,
this is
that
the team
Orlando
that
team ended up
knocked you out in
winning.
the quarterfinal in 2022. I know this.
Yeah,
I wasn't there, but I definitely was watching it.
yeah. So it just really irked me that that there wasn't any level of transparency about that going into it, because I think that's what made people mad, is because it came so out of the blue.
I'm and it's so weird just because of the fact like I don't think I would be here with this like optimistic like it's okay Nashville SC if they didn't get the win for this match. I don't think I would have as much understanding for them. Like this is also a new era where Nashville SC is trying to be a little bit more transparent when it comes to access, specifically the things that are kind of going on. Like I have a feeling like last year, say the same thing happened. Gary Smith puts out this 2 years ago. Gary Smith puts up this like lineup specifically. They win the match. That that interview would have been, I planned this the entire time. This is exactly what was going to happen. We would have gotten no specific information whatsoever. So I'm trying to give him a little bit more of a runway. And I do also, though, I do want to talk about the performance itself because it is, I think there are a few players specifically that we do need to talk about that the individual efforts really, really came through during this match.
Yeah, I said on Twitter that I thought that this might be the most impressive performance in NSC history, given the stakes.
Yeah.
You're playing to go to a quarterfinal. Given the fact that you're basically running a B team,
Yep.
given the fact that you're playing a team that is definitely taking it seriously and coming off a big win, their biggest win of the season, and you're on the road. Like stakes wise, and the guys who had to make those plays is one of the most impressive performances that NSC has ever put together
Yep.
at any level, and it's worth noting. I do also think like I really wish that there would have been a way for Teal Bunbury for that goal to count for him, because Lord knows he needs it. But it was good to see him play a meaningful role in Nashville scoring. I think his confidence needs a little bit of boost there, and we've been practically begging for Ahmed Qasim to do something to kind of get back into the conversation for being a big player in this NSC squad, and that was a good example of what that looks like. He had an opportunity. He took advantage of his opportunity this time. He scored a goal. He looked up for it. And, then what can you say about Wyatt Meyer? I mean, obviously there's the back heel to set it up from Yazbek, but, just another guy grabbing full hold of an opportunity after not playing for several months.
Right. No, watching Ahmed Qasim during that. I mean, even the Toronto match as well. I think him coming in as the sub during the Toronto match, he was absolutely impressive. I I don't know. I think he could possibly be one of the best signings that Nashville SC has found, just specifically when it comes to the quality of player that he could be. Maybe just in a league that's not as well known, trying to put some, but the way that he is technical with the ball specifically is something that we have never. I have never seen that in that. I think he has better ball skills with the ball at his feet than Hani. I think that the way that he dribbles and the way that he can navigate people, he can absolutely be a star in this league.
I mean, this was the type. Let's again. He's had a couple good performances, coming off a few bad performances. I said at the start of the season we're going to see peaks and valleys with him. He's a young player coming into a new league. That being said, this is a lot of what people were hoping out of a Randall Leal type signing.
Yep.
Randall Leal was initially a young DP, which has become the U22 rule, and this is what you get. You get guys that you can take a flyer on somebody, spend a little bit of cash, and maybe you unearth the gem, and maybe they're only going to be with you for a couple years and move on. And I think that's when it didn't work out in Europe for Qasim, because this was a conversation that looked like it had gone away before he came back and ended up signing with NSC. That's what he's looking for. He's looking for a chance to showcase himself. And this past week was an example of him showcasing himself.
Right.
The week before, not so much. And so I think we're gonna see more from him. But yeah, it's a really, really hopeful sign, and you need to find more pieces, and he might be another big piece.
Right. Well, I think in the new era of Nashville SC, this is not something that we've really been through with an extremely new younger player kind of getting that opportunity, because if this was Nashville 2 years ago, he never would have gotten that opportunity. So the fact.
Well, I mean, Randall all got opportunities, same age, similar age. He's signed for enough money that he's going to get playing.
That's
time.
fair. That's fair. It's just really cool to see his progression almost in real time. I would say more in a positive light than Randall Leal's. I think had some good starts, and then it kind of unfortunately went downhill in a lot of decent ways. I actually watched a little bit of the DC Open Cup match as well with Randall. I thought Randall looked really, pretty decent in that match against DC as well, except when penalties came up, he didn't take one, which I thought was very interesting in comparison to what he did at Nashville. But
I mean, he missed penalties for Nashville, so
but we will be able to actually see Randall Leal in Nashville again for an Open Cup match because that's who Nashville drew. For our July 8th quarterfinal match, we will be playing DC United at home, which is the best result from the draw that we could have. I think Nashville's gotten extremely unlucky with some draw experiences in multiple times throughout its history. I mean, again, doing Orlando away, like is the match that having away priority has always been tough for us. This one was a little bit different.
yeah, it was. I mean, I just think of like unlucky draws, thinking about the League's Cup in 2020, like at Cincinnati, Club America, Monterey.
Right.
Like they played the best of the best before they played Miami. Uh, but yeah, I mean it's a pretty good draw. They stay in the East. Play DC United, a team that Nashville should beat, although they didn't the last time they played. But a team that they should beat. Then they either, if they beat DC United, they get either Philly at home, which is tough. To be fair, that's tough, or at Red Bulls, which is also tough historically.
Right.
So it's not the most ideal that it could have been, but honestly, we've seen Nashville beat both of those teams this year. So
I
like,
mean,
who's to say they
I
can't do it
did
again?
have a traumatic moment though throughout the draw because if you did not watch the draw, there was one thing that had to be done in the draw before they could actually seed the teams, which was determining if Nashville was going to be in the Eastern bracket or the Western bracket.
Yeah, yeah. That was just classic Nashville, I guess, and not knowing which side of the country you're in.
Which it's
The West did host. The West did win the rights to host the final. So I will say this. I'm just going to say it right now because we'll figure out the logistics later. But if Nashville SC is going to a cup final, Pharma Soccer is going to be there,
oh,
which
absolutely.
means it'll be a scoreless draw and it'll be decided on penalties.
Well, and
So,
well, we can quit the episode. We don't need any more predictions for the rest of
so,
until the Open Cup final actually happens. No.
just to recap on the West: Austin, Chicago, Minnesota, San Jose. Those are the teams out of the West. So, if Nashville wins 2 more games in the Open Cup, they will be playing at one of those places for a chance to go to back to Champions League.
Which, gosh, that would be so much fun again. All right, we have some more MLS news kind of to talk about, as well as another local soccer roundup, and 2 more matches. I'm exhausted, but 2 more matches we have to play, and we're going to talk about those next, right here on Pharmaceutical Soccer. And we are back right here at Pharmaceutical Soccer, but at Pharma Soccer on our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Of course, make sure you do check out 615soccer.com, as well as pharmasoccer.com for all of your merch and all of that fun stuff. So please make sure you do check that out. MLS, I don't know what I mean. There was a lot of goals this weekend. I would say a decent amount of goals. I still think that Atlanta over Cincinnati probably the most interesting of the bunch. I don't know. Anything else to you, Clay?
I mean, Miami's starting to figure some things out again, which is not good news for everyone else. But you know, I mean,
Because we still haven't played
they're
our
always going to
two
figure out. They have
matches.
Messi on their team.
We still haven't played our other matches against Miami yet. So of course, like they're gonna figure it out right when they play Nashville. So that's fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're in the dregs of the season for so many teams, so you're starting to get those results that don't quite make a lot of sense. So, like Charlotte did beat Columbus, and we'll talk about Columbus here in a moment. But fairly classic week in MLS, and a classic week of people going, "Oh, Nashville's actually pretty decent." Would you look at that?
Yeah, I was looking at Matthew Doyle's power rankings, and he had Nashville at 8th. And he says this team plays beautiful soccer. It could be higher, but they have a struggle this week with all the road matches coming up. So we'll see, kind of where they're at. And I think that's exactly what it is. There was a giant brawl. We haven't seen one of those in MLS in a very, very long time. So
A minute.
shout out to the classiness between Galaxy and San Diego fans. Just props to you guys for giant brawl in these stands. So that's always fun. Let's do some reviews. We did get a couple 5-star reviews, so definitely appreciate it. If you guys do have a review for the show, we will bring it up live on air on pharmaceuticals.com. You can do it on Apple Podcasts as well as anywhere you listen to podcasts. But we had a couple 5 stars.
Yeah, and we will read any 5-star review. And if you go back and change a 5-star review or a 4-star review to a 1-star, I don't like you. So I'll just leave it at that. So the first review is from Alex William Wynn, who has a quote, I believe, from last episode, which says, "I hate this show. Stephen Robinson, co-host, Pharmaceutical Soccer." So that's a review, leaving a review of Stephen saying he hates the show, but it's 5 stars, so we have to read it. So it's a little bit of review inception going on with that.
Absolutely. And I'm all about review inceptions, and I stand by my quote. I will absolutely stand by my quote as well. I hate this show.
And then Sin Pauser says, "Funny, informative, guys have a deep knowledge of Nashville soccer history and beyond, and they wrap content in a relevant context. Definitely a must subscribe." Surely that person is talking about me and Valer and not Steven. And
yeah, that person is not talking about me whatsoever. Yep, absolutely. Sure. Yep. You mean, yeah, it's fine. No, I am a part of it, damn it.
Well, and speaking of that, Steven, will you check your Slack?
I knew.
We have another 5-star review from Paul.
Why is this so long? What? Oh my gosh. Okay. All right, here we go.
The review is titled Truth. Steven, go ahead with the review.
All right. Clay, Valer, valued listeners. Valer's not here, so it's perfectly fine. This review's starting off great. I, Stephen Robinson, must confess. This week on the 615 Soccer Discord, which you can all be members of by becoming a member at 615soccer.com. Numbers all spelled out, I finally let something slip. Something I've been covering up since my first days in Nashville after moving from Ann Arbor. Like members of that other big team up north, I am a spy. If you don't believe I have the ability to be a spy, just go watch Valer's instant reaction from Saturday's game against Toronto at Valer Shabilla on most social media sites. Believe it or not, that was not Valer. That was me. That's untrue, but fine. I'll keep going. I have kept my true allegiance in so well, leading supporters groups, making tons of passionate soccer fans from what was basically nothing, all on my own. No help, just some deep research from NashvilleSoccerArchive.com. I did it all for this moment, for the most prestigious cup, for the most prestigious team. One of the originals, in fact, the original MLS champion, my DC United, my Randall Leal, my Lucas McNaughton. How do you think they ended up on that roster? That's right, me. How did I seem to support Nashville when my true love is DC? Through backroom deals with other supporters groups to get DC into the Southern Championship. I had a public-facing reason to stay close to my team. So how do I let it slip in? In a moment of weakness, I called all y'all out. How are you going to beat my United in June in the Open Cup when you could only pull off a meager draw not only more than 10 days ago? DC is in my heart. Nashville's under my foot. That's it. Nothing else except Vamos United.
So there you have it. Stephen, once again, letting one of his allegiances slip, and is now officially a DC United. Which, to be fair, it does make sense. He did play for Loudon.
Look, and that's the thing. If the whole Loudon thing came out in this, it would be more. It would be one. I will say this one was more fun to read. The other one was more fun of a actual thing that people are gonna believe. Fine, whatever. You all can keep doing this all day long. I do want to give the real reason, though, because I think it's fun why DC United is in the Southern Championship. Because I think it should be talked because it is funny, especially from a national perspective. Nashville did not want DC in the Southern Belt whatsoever. But here's the thing: Atlanta was paying for the belt. So we didn't care who Atlanta wanted in the rivalry specifically. They paid for the belt. They got to put DC in. Plus, it's just another team that Nashville can beat in the Southern Championship, so I'm perfectly fine with it. So,
I mean, it's a wrestling thing, isn't it? Like that's what it's tied to
yeah,
ultimately. It's wrestling,
yeah. And they paid for the belt. I don't care
historical
who you.
wrestling places.
You could put Birmingham Legion in it for all I care and see how we do. Like, they only pay for the belt. I don't care. But, yeah, thank you for that. Really appreciate that. This is great. Please keep doing your 5-star reviews. It's really fun for me. I love it every single time. Yay! Please keep doing it. It's not something I'm crying every single time doing whatsoever.
Yeah, make sure you write one for Valair to read as a Tottenham fan because he was in Bilbao, as we
The
established.
thing is that
Currently
people
in
are not going to
Spain.
do that. They are going to. Are you? Is somebody going to write one as Clay? Is someone finally going to do that? Like somebody. It can't be just me.
Honestly, Steven being this upset about it makes me want more people
Shut
to
up.
write.
All
It's
right,
just
whatever. It's fine. Hey, local soccer happened. That's really cool. Why don't we talk about that?
yeah. Let's. So this is We're recording this on Tuesday because of Memorial Day, of course. So there is a game tonight. It is the opener for the Nashville Rhythm. They are playing T and Tempo, which is based in Murfreesboro. That's up at Nashville Rhythm's new stadium, which is Green Hills High School in Mount Juliet. So that will be the season opener for the Rhythm. The Tempo played last week or 2 weeks ago. So Tempo play the Rhythm this week, and then they'll also play 865 Alliance. 865 Alliance is coming off a glorious WPSL game where they won 10-0. That does happen in the WPSL from time to
It's
time.
true.
Also, the Rhythm, after they play Tempo, will play at FC Birmingham. And then to round out the local women's soccer teams, TSC is coming off a 1-0 win over Southern States Academies, or Southern Soccer Academies. Southern States Conference is an NAIA league. So Southern Soccer Academies, they also lost 5-2 at One Knox. They will play Birmingham Legions women's team here a little bit later this week, and then play at Asheville City SC at the weekend. And then on the men's side, you have TSC playing in USL League 2. They won 2-1 over the Southern Soccer Academy, and they will be at Montgomery United. That is your local soccer wrap-up. As in, just a reminder, these are the teams playing in these established national leagues, WPSL, USLW, USL League 2. There are plenty of other teams that are out there playing in, whether it be UPSL or and Nisa Nation. If there are big games that happen in those leagues, we will get to them. It's just these ones are a little bit more established, and that is the reason why we cover them, because it would be impossible to do all like 8, 9, 10 teams that play every summer. So these are just from the bigger leagues. But please go out and support any local soccer wherever you can get it. It's not just about Nashville SC. These are the leagues that Nashville SC came from. Nashville SC was an NPSL team when it was, Nashville FC, and that is where Steven's affiliation started. That is where my affiliation started with NFC, and you should support your local teams in addition to Nashville SC.
You hear how that affiliation contradicted the review that happened? I just need that to make sure specifically that is no input out there.
Chattanooga was in PSL as well, Steven.
2-match week we have. 2-match week, another one. I'm exhausted. Like, this is actually like extremely tiring. Like, to find like time specifically to watch. I mean, like, I'm tired and get exhausted watching it. I can only imagine what it's like to play every single week. Coming into this you're probably going to see some rotation between these two matches, but how much rotation you see, a lot of question kind of surrounding that, because we do have an international break after this, so you have another 2 weeks of break matches after this week. What do you think? How much rotation do you think between Columbus and New York City FC we're going to see?
I don't think we'll see a ton, honestly. I think we'll see like a few players here or there. Certainly nothing like what we saw against DC or Orlando City. I think we might see a few players take a break. Nashville does have some older players in the squad, like an Andy Nahar. I think we'll see Walker Zimmerman get a start here in one of these two matches.
Oh, you do?
Yep.
You think because I know he was on the bench, which was we didn't even bring that up. Very big news against Toronto, but you think
Yeah, lot going on last week, but yeah, Walker Zimmerman did make his return at the end of that game, in a pretty tight. You're not bringing him in that situation, a 1 goal game with 20 minutes left, if you're not setting him up to play longer.
right?
So I think like he's probably going to be playing and starting in one of these two matches. That's typically what you see. It may not necessarily happen, but I would be surprised, especially in a 2 match week. I do think it like Hani Mukhtar tends to play a ton of minutes. Sam Surge tends to play a ton of minutes. I think we're going to see Nashville is a younger team than they have been in the past. So I think we'll see guys play both matches.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting, especially because the dichotomy of where both of these teams stand, in lineup specifically as well. Obviously, Columbus is kind of higher up there in the standings, the upper echelon. They're tied with us in points at the current moment. Just had that loss to Charlotte over the weekend. New York City, I didn't realize was doing as good as they are. Never mind. Excuse what I just said specifically about teams underperforming. These are two tough teams that we are playing against.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting time. I think Columbus is the most interesting one because Columbus, everyone will tell you that Columbus is one of the best teams in the league. They have the best coach in the league. They've kind of shown it year in and year out, even moving players on and still being good. They've managed to really be, kind of the top tier of MLS the last few years. But then you look at the last month, and they haven't exactly played that way. So they won. So they beat Charlotte on May 3rd 4-2 in Columbus, which is a pretty impressive result. Charlotte's not been on a good run of results until this week. And since then, they haven't won.
Right.
So that's their only win in all of May. And so they've got 3 draws and the loss away to Charlotte this past weekend. And so they're a team that's probably looking to get back on track. And they're going to be looking for something because they know that Nashville has been one of the best teams in the league this year. It's a home game. They're going to be looking to bounce back against Charlotte, especially. I'm sure it's pretty frustrated feelings drawing with Philadelphia, drawing with Montreal, who is not good, and then drawing with Cincinnati, and the hell is real, and then losing to Charlotte. Like, that's not a good run for Columbus. They were going to be pretty frustrated by that. So Nashville's a tough opponent for them, and they got Inter Miami on Saturday. So, it doesn't get any easier in May for Columbus.
Well, let's do the predictions for both of these right off the bat. Let's get it all done because somebody decided to write a 4-paragraph review. So this section decided to, yes, I'm still front. It's fine. Clay, why don't you give your predictions and plugs and all the things?
Well, that review did plug me quite a bit, but you can follow me at Clay Russell on Instagram and Twitter. As far as I think Columbus is tough. I think that might be the run of the unbeaten run. I'm going to say it's a hard fought 2-1 loss to Columbus. It is very hard to go on the road and win games, and it would be notable if not. That being said, I think Nashville can do it, and if they do it, that is the biggest marker that they've laid down this season from any game, including the Philly one earlier this year. So I'm going to say it's a 2-1 loss against Columbus. As far as New York City FC has been playing well. They're coming off a couple of wins in a row. They did draw with DC United. I think they're a little bit of fool's gold, and so I think they'll play Houston. They play Houston Dynamo on Wednesday, and then they'll come to Nashville, and I think they'll lose to Nashville 3-1.
At PH Stephen HD on all of my stuff related to Nashville Soccer Club, my one and only team. You won't really see anything DC United wise on my socials, but whatever, that's fine. You can check that out for the proof in the pudding if you want to. But yeah, I am gonna pull a Clay Trainum where I think Nashville is gonna go on the road and dominate against Columbus 3-1, and get a dominating result on Wednesday, and then come home and absolutely poop the bed against NYCFC. Let's go 2-0 loss at home to NYCFC. Just absolutely poops the bed against. But hey, I mean, I would take 3 points after this week, so I'm gonna take it. So again, thank you guys so much for listening to the show. Really do appreciate it. We will be back next week, of course, to talk about these 2 matches that we have played. Looking forward to that. Hopefully, we're talking about 6 points and not just 3 or 1 or any of the other ones. Hopefully, we're talking about 6 points. Thank you again so much for listening to the show. We truly appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your week.